Hi, folks. Here we are. Well, it's 7 o'clock, so we are live and we are here. This is Global Tarot Circle. Today's date is May 23rd, 2018. We do this about once a month, no particular regular day, whenever I can fit it in. I schedule it on my website, christianagaudette.com. You can also always find out when we're going to be meeting by making sure you're a member of the Global Tarot Circle Facebook page. We have a group, and we sometimes do the exercises that we do during our meeting. We sometimes do those exercises in the group in between our meetings, and we make sure everyone knows when we're going to be meeting. So, if you happen to be watching this on Facebook or YouTube in archive, please do watch, please do play along. We have a lot of fun, but please recognize that we're not going to answer your questions or do readings for you if we are no longer live broadcasting. Okay, and Margaret is here. She's the first one here. Tabitha's here, second one here. We've got Margaret from Sun City Center in Florida. Margaret, are you a member of that fabulous metaphysical group that meets on Wednesday mornings in Sun City Center? What a great group of people. Maybe I met you there. Anyway, so glad that you're here. Tabitha, glad that you're here all the way from Lexington, Kentucky. One of the things about this monthly Facebook event is we really are global. We have people from all over, not only all over the United States, but all over the world. So I'm so glad that you're here. As people start coming in, when you come in, do as Margaret and Tabitha have done and introduce yourself. Likewise, if you have any shameless self-promotion, if you have a deck or book or business or anything of that nature that you want to promote, you are invited to drop a link in the comments, which we use as a chat room. You're invited to drop a link now, at the end, in the middle, anytime. This is a time for us to support each other. I see Allison Spokes is here. So glad you're here. Tell us where in the world you're from. Here's Julie from Palm Beach. She's my neighbor right down the road. So glad that you are all here. So, again, as you come in, go ahead and introduce yourself. And we always start with readings and burning questions. So, what's a burning question? A burning question could be anything. See, Allison is here from Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Yay, glad you're here. Liz is here. Hi, glad you're here. Go ahead and chat in where in the world you're from. And if you have a burning question. So what's a burning question? A burning question could be a question about tarot reading, about tarot spreads. It could be a question about a reading you've done that you didn't understand, or a particular card that you're having a hard time understanding. This is a great time and place to get all of those kinds of questions answered. It is also a time to get readings. So your burning question may be the sort of question that you want to ask a room full of tarot readers, or in this case, a virtual room full of tarot readers. A question about your life, what's going on in your life, your future, your past, your relationships. You can ask that question here too, and we will all enjoy reading for you. So let's see what we've got going on here. Okay, first of all, let's see. We've got Jay. So happy to be here for the first time. From Chicago. Well, I hope things are going well in Chicago. Love your work and your style. Thank you so much. I love that you're here. Liz is here. She's local. She's from Jupiter and getting ready to ask a question. So we'll be reading for Liz in just a moment. Tabitha, let us all celebrate. Tabitha has just published her book, Creative Divination. Read tea leaves and develop your personal code. It's a workbook consisting of 79 tea reading exercises designed to stir your imagination, nourish your intuition, and unfold your understanding of perception and individual symbols. This was written by our very own Tabitha Dial. There's a link there to her Amazon page. Go ahead and support her. Irene is here. Good to see you. Make sure that you promote your business while you're here, Irene. Glad you're here. And here is our first question from Liz. Where are my cards? Here we go. I have a lot of decks here because we're going to be talking about different kinds of decks later on in our session today. So I have all of these cards, but this is the deck I'm reading with. It is my trusty universal weight. Not the only deck I read with, but a deck I read with a lot. As you can see, I've only had it for a couple months and it's already kind of worn out. Okay, so here's how we work when we do readings here. We'll start with Liz. Liz has asked a question. What's going to happen is I'm going to shuffle and pull one card to answer Liz's question. I want you all to do the same. If you have your cards with you, get them shuffled, pull one card for Liz. What you want to do, because we'll be reading for a number of people, when you give your reading, write her name, Liz, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. And together we create a reading for, I can't say for everyone who wants them because there'll be a lot of requests, but we'll try to get to everyone we can. And I see Tracy has arrived. Nice to see you. I think Tracy's from like the whole other side of the world, I think. Remind us where you're from, Tracy. I just love the idea that we really are global. So when I see people who aren't from, 50 miles of where I am, I get really excited. I mean, I'm excited to see my neighbors too, of course. I'm glad you're all here. So let's get started with Liz's reading. Her question is, I'm looking for a new position. Is that coming soon? So I assume what you mean is a new job. Obviously, a new position could be this or that. No, really. I assume you mean a job, and that's what we're going to read on. Liz is looking for a new job. Let's see what we get. Do we see a new job for Liz? And I see Amy is here. Glad you're here. Go ahead and drop a link for what you got going on, Amy. We know you've been busy. Okay, so let's see. New position for Liz. 8 of Cups. And Liz confirms, yes, it is a new job. Yes. 8 of Cups. So it's not a card. I don't think you could find a tarot book that would say, 8 of Cups means a new job. It doesn't. What it means is walking away from something. So I could see this as saying, well, you need a new job because there's something about what you have been doing, whether that is a current job, whether that is being unemployed, whatever you've been doing that you're ready to be done with. And so this sort of says, yes, you're walking away from something. So if you're walking away from something, I would think you're also walking to something. So I feel like that could be positive with the 8 there. I'm thinking maybe toward August, the 8th month. However, this is such an emotional card. I really have to invite you, Liz, to look at what are your feelings about a particular position you might be applying for? What are your feelings about positions you've had in the past? Are you sort of carrying some emotions around this that aren't serving you? So let's see what we've got going on. And I want to encourage you. I will read some of the comments, but eventually there will be way too many comments for me to keep up with. So I want to encourage you to make sure you participate in the comment section. Really, most of the brilliance that goes on over this hour is not coming from me. It's coming from the people in the comments. So make sure you check, especially if we're reading for you, make sure you check so you can get all of your readings. So I see that Joanne Matthew is here. Good to see you, Joanne, my good friend from Connecticut. The 7 of Cups, interesting because I got the 8 of Cups. There might be many choices. Choose wisely, not by emotions. From Tabitha for Liz, she got the Hierophant. Let mentors guide you and approach others with your own authority. You know your stuff. Follow convention and be rewarded. Perhaps look into instruction of leadership. From Irene, Liz, 3 of Wands. Soon, you do already start something, but the results will be seen in 3 months. Okay, let's see. And here is a question, and there's more coming for Liz. So again, Liz, make sure you look. I see Jay's reading for you, Julie's reading for you. Make sure you look and get your reading and comment and let us know what you think. And here comes a new question. And here's Serena and saying that Arwen says hello. I want to know the story behind that because we love our Arwen and we love Serena as well. And I think many of you know Arwen is now the editor of the Cartomancer. Jadzia has stepped down and Arwen has stepped up. So that's really exciting. Okay. And Serena, I'm glad you're here because we're talking about your topic later on. So, from Allison, here's the next question. Let's see. I am in the early conception stages of 2 separate but major projects. Congratulations. Writing a book on tarot and illustrating a fairy fantasy themed deck. Don't we have the most talented people here? You know, some people can write, some people can draw. This is someone who can do both. Fabulous, fabulous, and has huge tarot knowledge. So, you know, one thing I will say about the tarot community is we really seem to attract a lot of really smart, talented people. Our professionals, certainly, but also our hobbyists. Ask any person who reads tarot what else they got going on in their life, and it's always something exciting, really. Okay, so let's get back to what Allison has to say here. I'm taking notes on the Hierophant right now. What myth or storytelling themes, symbols, or characters do you associate with the Hierophant? I have a vision and starting place, but I'm open to more ideas and inspirations. So, anyone who wants to speak about the Hierophant, what do you associate with the Hierophant? How do you see that archetype? What myths do you associate with it? How does it speak to you in a reading? Go ahead and type that in, and basically just type the name Allison to get her attention, and the word Hierophant, so we all remember what we're talking about, and whatever you see about the Hierophant, or, you know, what you want to say about the Hierophant. I'd like to speak to the Hierophant for just a moment. We know that archetypally the Hierophant is the Pope. And we know that the Pope is problematic by nature. We also know that the Hierophant is card 5. And if you look at all the 5s in tarot, like think about the 5s in the minor arcana, what do you see in those cards? They're all filled with conflict, right? 5 is really the number of expansion. We think about 4 being the comfort zone. We think about 6 being victory. And 5 is that exquisitely uncomfortable place where we step out of the comfort zone but are not yet in our place of victory. And so that's 5. Now, how does that speak to the Hierophant? Well, I think it's interesting to note that the element associated with the Hierophant is earth. He's grounded. He's on earth. He's God's representative on earth, but he ain't God, right? He's human. He is earth. And I think that 5 really speaks to the conflict of the Pope. Is the Pope the loving father, mentor, God's representative on earth? Or is he that jerk in Rome who keeps telling us what to do, who surrounds himself with wealth while other people starve? You know, you could see him both ways. And that is sort of that conflict of the Hierophant. Now, when we look at the Hierophant is a teacher. And think about it, a teacher can be a wonderful help, and a teacher can also be abusive. I think the Hierophant can be either. Now, when I look at the Hierophant, my primary key word is authority, about knowing your own authority, about watching out for people who say they have authority when they do not, and seeking appropriate authority. So that's where I sit with all of that. There's a lot going on here as far as the Hierophant is concerned. Allison asked about myths that we associate with the Hierophant. And I can't really think. I don't, and that's an interesting teachable thing because we're going to be talking later about different tarot decks. And one of the things I want to talk about is archetypal tarot decks, where each card really is associated with a particular archetype, perhaps a myth or something else within a particular theme. But a myth that I would associate with the Hierophant, I can't think of any. Maybe some of you could. Allison is speaking to the conflict. She says, I pulled all of the Hierophants from my pop culture decks, and right away I noticed that these were men who had a vision to change the world, both villains and heroes. They wanted to make a difference and recruit followers. So there's a lot there. So very interesting. We've got a lot of people chatting in. So that's fabulous. And a lot of new people coming in as well. Serena is designing the Cartomancer now. Congratulations, Serena. Way to bury the lead, my friend. Very well done. That is exciting. Okay. So let's see. Here is a question from Amy. Let's move on to another question. But again, keep reading the chat room. Well, okay, it's not a chat room. It's a comment thread. But keep reading it because there's a lot of great information here. As I said, we've got some great tarot minds assembled here. Okay, so here's a question from Amy. And then after that, we're going to do Megan. Okay, Amy, question. Oh my goodness gracious. What does the universe want me to know about my recent neck injury and healing it? Amy, I'm so sorry you've had an injury. I didn't know that. So I'm so sorry. Great question. Anyone who wants to read for Amy, the question is, what does the universe want her to know about her neck injury and about how to heal it? If you'd like to, go ahead and write her name, Amy, the name of the card you pull for her, and your interpretation. Okay. Oh, Amy just came up with a Hierophant myth, the Emperor's New Clothes. Ooh, very interesting. I like it. I like it. Okay. So, Amy's neck injury. Four of Cups reversed. So what this says to me is that it probably could have been worse, and we probably want to be happy that it's not as bad as it could have been. But there is a sense here of trying to do too much, of not taking time for yourself. And I know you've got kids, you've got a business, you've got a husband-to-be, you've got all kinds of things going on. But this says that sometimes you just need to sit one out. And whether it's that the body needs rest or the mind needs to rest the body, one of the ways to heal is to allow yourself to rest. And we recognize that spiritually that is not easy for you because you value yourself based on what you do, not who you are. Okay, so anyone wants to read for Amy, go ahead, put her name, the card you got, and what your interpretation is, what your reading is. Okay, and we're going to move right on to Megan. Megan, thank you so much for being here. Okay, here's Megan's question. Oh, and here's Jo coming in. She's my neighbor down the street, too. Glad you're here. Okay, so question from Megan. My husband and I are experiencing a financially difficult time. Will we see resolve with relief toward the beginning of next year? So, Megan and her husband are having money problems, but we all know what that's like. I'm so sorry to hear it. Do we see resolution, and do we see it in the time frame of the beginning of next year? If you'd like to play, go ahead and write Megan's name, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. And again, if we're doing a reading for you, make sure you read in the comments to get all your readings because we've got a lot of great tarot people who are working with us today. Okay, so let's see. Megan and the financial situation. 8 of Pentacles. Megan, you guys are doing everything you need to do to shore this up. You're going to be fine. I think you're going to be fine in your time frame or better. You're learning, you're growing, and don't feel bad about this. You know, this really falls into the category of stuff happens. You're learning from it. You're moving forward. You'll be fine. Okay. Very good. Let me scroll down and see what else we got here. Okay. Here's Chrisanne. Very good. She's driving. She can't participate, but she's listening in. So let's all send some love to Chrisanne. Glad you're here. Okay. We've got a lot of conversation about the Hierophant. We see Linda Rogers is here. Glad you're here. We're reading for Amy. Bunch of people reading for Amy. Okay. And here is Tabitha. Question from Tabitha. And then a question from Tabitha. And then I see a question from Jo. So we'll try to have those be our next two. So Tabitha, any thoughts on how the universe wants me to progress on a possible new relationship? Okay, we know Tabitha has been through some relationship stuff in the past couple of years. So I'm glad there's someone new, whatever it is. I'm glad we're moving forward. So what does the universe want Tabitha to know about a possible new relationship? Go ahead. You know what to do. The name, Tabitha, the card you got, and your interpretation. Here's my card for Tabitha. Four of Swords. You know, this does not say that the relationship will happen. And it does not say that if it does, it will be either good or bad. What it says is, it's good that you're getting busy. It's good that you're getting out there. It's good that you're opening up to these possibilities and opening up to what the next chapters of your life will look like. Everyone else, fill in the blanks. Okay. Now, the next question is Joe. Where is she? Joe wants to know about her summer. What will Joe's summer months be like? And this is a really interesting teachable moment because the fact is the summer is like 3 months. And one card, how is one card going to cover 3 months? It's not. So when you pull one card for a time span, it might be that you see one thing that's going to happen in that time. It might be that you see a general mood that will be pervasive throughout that time. But recognize that one card readings have their limitations. However, what we're doing here is really a group spread in a lot of ways. We're each doing a one card reading, but when you put it together, it usually forms a very cohesive message. So let's see. For Joe, for the summer, the Magician, lots of new stuff, new opportunities, learning new things, meeting new people, being open to new energies. Anyone else want to read for Joe? Just put her name, Joe, J-O, the card you got, your interpretation. And again, we've got lots of readings going on here. And here's a question from Linda Rogers. What do the cards want Linda to know about finding love? Okay. So if you'd like to read for Linda, put her name, Linda, the card you got, and your interpretation. Will Linda find love? What's in the future for Linda in her love life? What does Linda have to do to find love? Let's take a look. Woo! King of Wands, right there. Now for me, I often see the King of Wands as a very desirable partner. Especially if you're heterosexual looking for a male partner. Although I think the King of Wands could probably be a pretty classy woman as well. But, you know, the King of Wands we see as very warm, very creative, very funny, very sexual, very attentive. I like him. And I think that this bodes very, very well for your love life coming up very soon, Linda. That's what I think. Okay, we got lots of readings going on. Readings for Megan, readings for Amy, readings for Tabitha. For Megan, lots of readings for Megan, for Tabitha, for Tabitha, for Tabitha, for Joe, for Tabitha, for Joe. Okay, we are ready. We are ready for a new question. And so while I'm waiting for a new question, we can do questions really for the next 10 minutes or so before we move on into the teaching section. So if anyone has a question, go ahead and chat it in. And again, it could be a question for readings. It could also be a tarot related question. Anything about tarot. Serena has a question. Go ahead. Let's see what Serena's question is. While we're waiting for that, let me just do some shameless self-promotion. Those of you who are local, and I know there's a few of you, Joe is here, Julie is here, there's a few local people, and by local I mean Palm Beach County, Martin County in Florida. Tomorrow evening, Thursday, I will be teaching pendulum power, and I'll be doing that at Dream Angels in DeQuesta at 7 o'clock. Seats are limited, so go ahead and call the store or go to the website and prepay. We'd love to see you. Now, if you happen to be in Connecticut and want to study pendulums with me, I am also teaching pendulum power at True Bikram Yoga in New Haven. And that will be on Sunday, June 10th at 7 o'clock. So if you happen to be in Florida or Connecticut, there's no excuse. Come play with the pendulums with me. Okay, let's see. Now, a million things have happened while I was saying all of that. So let me go back and see if I can find Serena's question. I see Serena has a question. I don't see Serena's question yet. Here it is. Okay. Folks' interpretation of my relationship with my new product line. Okay, so that's an interesting question. You want to know your relationship with your new product line. That's an interesting question. Okay, Serena has a new product line. What can we say about it? Go ahead. Her name, Serena, the name of the card, and your interpretation. And she worded it in an interesting way, looking at her relationship with this product line. And I think that's significant. Ace of Pentacles, baby. And I think this is your baby in a lot of ways. And that means it'll make you nervous. And that means there'll be times you don't know what to do with it or how to help it grow. But this is a great thing. This could be a great business for you. It's a great product line. You have great products here. You need to nurture it and take care of it like a baby. That's what you got to do. Okay, now there were a few more questions coming in here. Okay, from Tracy. Will my change of business name be good for drawing in more business? Okay, what can we say about Tracy's new business name? Again, if you want to read for Tracy on this, go ahead, put her name, Tracy, the name of the card you get, and your interpretation. Okay, what do we see for Tracy? Honestly, Six of Cups reversed. The thing is, whatever you call your business, at the end of the day, it feels like you are your business. And the name, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. The old name was fine. The new name's fine. It's fine. But what will draw people to your business is you. It's not the name. It's you. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. And I see Beth is here. Nice to see you from Edgewater. Glad you're here. Okay, let's see. Okay, we can take a couple of more questions. We've got stuff coming in for Serena right now. There's some great stuff coming in, and here's a teachable moment. Tabitha reading for Serena. Tabitha drew the Ten of Swords for Serena. Now, a baby tarot reader might look at the Ten of Swords and say, oh no, no, doom, death, destruction, this is terrible. Listen to what Serena said in the context of the question. Okay. Ten of Swords, have you perfected your elevator speech for this product line? Or perhaps it is your wording for your relationship with it. Leave behind what doesn't serve you. Remember, we're now in Gemini season, so communication rules. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. What a great way of, rather than running scared when you see a difficult card, of finding a way of having it make sense in a helpful way. And Serena has already acknowledged that this is very appropriate for her. Okay, here's a question from Beth. Beth is putting her mom in assisted living. How will it go? Okay, so if you'd like to read on this topic, go ahead and write in Beth's name, Beth, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. How's it going to go putting mom in assisted living? We know that's never easy. Seven of Cups. So it's time. You know, it looks like cognitively, it's time. There's no question. For her, whether she adjusts well or not will depend on the moment or the hour or the day. And you, Beth, need to be very careful about not letting your imagination take you to a negative place in all of this. This is the right thing. It will go okay. But, every day is different. Every minute is different. Some days will be better than others, but no doubt this is the right thing. Okay, and we have readings still continuing, and we are now at the half-hour mark. So I am going to go ahead and start introducing our topic today. And at the end, I think we'll do some exercises together. But Serena asked that we talk about sort of the wide variety of tarot decks. And, I was having a conversation with tarot artist Ciro Marchetti a little while ago. And, he's sort of saying there's so many decks coming out that over time we may lose the consistency of what is tarot. And of course, my theory is that 100 years from now, we'll think of Ciro Marchetti the same way we think about Pixie Smith, as a really influential tarot designer. Do you guys agree with me on that? I think he's done so many great decks that how would that go away? But he sort of thinks that his decks will get lost in the sea of all the decks that are out there. So my first question to you, are there too many decks being published? How does it hurt tarot in any way? Or is it true that the more the merrier, that the more decks we have, the better, and over time, the best will rise to the top in our memory and in our history? That's what I think. Ciro doesn't necessarily think that, at least at that moment he didn't. So, and Tabitha agrees with me, not with his distinct style, she says, it won't get lost. He ain't gonna get lost, is what she said. So, and we've got a lot of love for Ciro here, from folks. So yeah. So does anyone think that there are too many decks being published, that the world just doesn't need any more tarot decks? Is there anyone here who wants to make a case for that? Crickets. Got crickets. I don't want to make a case for that. But I know that there are people who do, and Allison agrees with me. The more the merrier, the best will rise to the top. Okay. And maybe we can call that consensus, I think that's fair. Okay, Tabitha says. And Serena says, sort of, but no. What's that all about? Oh, and Patricia says exactly the best will prevail. And you know what? There was a question from Patricia that I was going to answer and missed. So let's go back while we're cogitating on that. Let's go back and do Patricia's question. She had a question about weight loss. She's hit a plateau and she wants to know about her weight loss journey. And Irene says there are never too many tarot decks. All people have different preferences. I agree. Let's just do this quick for Patricia. So just put her name, Patricia, the card you got, and your interpretation about her weight loss journey. Seven of Swords reversed. Patricia, I think you're figuring it out. Weight loss is not just about white-knuckling it, exercising and not eating. It's about changing your relationship with food. It's about finding your own truth, and I think you're doing it. I think you will achieve your goal. So go ahead. If anyone wants to add to that reading for Patricia, go ahead. We definitely, Serena says, keep making them. They're a beautiful and curious expression. Yeah, absolutely. Now, okay, Beth says, oh, I could just pay you right now, Beth, because this is where I wanted to go. Beth said, different decks speak differently. Interesting. Now, okay, Joanne, wait a minute before we get to that, because that is exactly where I want to go. Joanne says, I think there are too many, but understand why also. It's like what someone once said, there's a bicycle seat for every ass. Not to be snarky about tarot, but everyone has a different like and dislike. I do believe over time the best ones will remain, and the others will fall to the side to be collector's items. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Tracy says, the more tarot, the better. I only wish the card stock would improve. My decks pre-2007 are awesome. Yeah, some of the new decks are cheesy. That's true. That's very, very true. Julie says too many decks is like when everyone started a blog. Right, right, right. Are blogs dead? I don't think they are. I mean, I used to blog a lot and I don't blog so much anymore, but it's because I'm busy. But I do think that when it comes to blogs, people who can blog should blog, and people who aren't great writers probably could do other things. How about that? Okay, that was just my opinion. I don't know. If you have opinions about blogs, go ahead and share. Okay. Liz says, many decks, many choices makes it tricky for the newbie, but I welcome them. Okay, let's go back to what Beth said. Different decks speak in different ways. Now, what Beth says is the common accepted wisdom, that different decks have different voices. And I think probably 99% of the people in this room will agree with that. And so go ahead. Do different decks speak in different ways? And if so, how? How do different decks speak in different ways? Give me an example. Go ahead and chat in. Oh, here's John Mariani. You know, John, I'm in the middle of writing a review for you, but while you're here, hang on. I'm going to do a shameless self-promotion for John. Woo. Hey, you guys, John wrote this amazing freaking book, The Major Arcana of Tarot in Their Own Words by John Mariani. This is the most interesting book. I said I would do a review right away, and obviously I'm bogged down. But this is so interesting. It is a way of getting to know the major arcana. Whether you are a new reader or an experienced reader, this is really going to help you understand the archetypes and the characters of the major arcana. The graphics are amazing. It's fun. It's funny. So, you know, there's your shameless self-promotion. See what happens when you show up? When you show up at my events, I will promote you. Okay. Now, and John, go ahead and drop a link so people know how to get it, okay? That's the other thing. I want you to promote yourself, too, in this group. Not just you, John, but everybody. Shameless self-promotion all around. Okay, so people have started to answer my question. Okay, and this is Allison in response to Tricky for the Newbie, speaking to what Liz was saying. With more decks come more teachers. It's easier to find mentors on any budget. Very nice. Okay, Serena says, when I read from several decks. I've also studied extensively and never use a deck unless I have studied it. So let's say I pull a card from the RWS deck. I might cross-interpret with the Marielle or the other way. Very broad way. They do all speak differently. Okay, and that actually, I think Serena's speaking to something that I actually do too, which I call the deck in my head. So whatever deck I'm reading with, a card comes up, I might think about how it's pictured in 3, 4, 5, 6 other decks, and that may inform my interpretation. So when we say that the decks speak differently, the thing is, once a deck is in your head, that deck is going to inform your readings whether you're reading with it or not. So that's where I say, well, yes, different cards speak in different ways, so in that way, decks have different voices, absolutely. But once you know the deck, it's always with you. And so at some point, we are not reading individual decks at all. With whatever deck we're reading tarot with a capital T, informed by all of our knowledge of tarot. Does that make sense? Was that way too esoteric? Was that crazy? I don't know. That's what I think. Anyway. Okay, so let's see what else people have to say here. Joanne says, the images invoke various feelings of interpretation, but the little voice inside is always going to be whispering the weight meanings. Right. So Joanne says an interesting thing. If you come to a particular tradition as a beginner, and Joanne was my student, and I'm a weight girl, I can't help it. I do use Crowley keywords to inform my weight interpretations. That's a fact. but I do read with weight and weight clone decks for the most part. And Joanne was my student, so I've passed that on to her, certainly. And so yeah, whatever deck you start out with may always sort of superimpose itself on whatever deck you're reading with. Have you found that? Joanne has found it. Maybe you have too. Let's see what Julie says. Yes, they feel different, and as the art changes from deck to deck, it brings the same energy through in a very different way, sending the mind and the heart in new directions. Okay. Tracy says, yes, different decks do speak. I have many voices on my shelf, but I'm not sure how to explain it. My Housewife's Tarot is snarky. My Tarot gets to the point in all of my questions. My Bohemian Gothic brings in a moody, mystical, old world style. So for Tracy, what Tracy is saying is she actually has different decks for different feels or different moods or different purposes. And I know some people do that. They might have a deck for magic, or a deck for reading for self, or a deck for reading for others. Or for her, she actually has names for the voices. So if she wants the snarky deck, she'll use the snarky deck. Now, I know other readers who do this too. You know, I was going to say, I just don't do that. But you know what? There's one deck that I have done this with. That's the Tarot of Transformation, which for me is too hairy-fairy. The archetypes aren't tight enough. It's too hairy-fairy for me to do an actual reading with. But I call it the big guns. And when I'm stuck in a reading, I will sometimes bring it out and pull 3 cards from that deck, because I think if I read more than 3 cards, my head would explode from that deck. And so that deck does have its own purpose. So once in a while, I guess I do run into a deck like that for sure. Okay, let's see. Irene had to leave. We'll see you later. Okay. Tabitha says, different decks have different personalities. I form relationships. Example, Victorian Fairy Tarot is soft and sometimes a little tricky like a pixie. When I feel like a good giggle and think someone needs a gentle approach, too, it is useful. Deviant Moon is very blunt. I use it for my own questions about job opportunities. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, and John did drop the Amazon link for his book in their own words, The Major Arcana of the Tarot, Volume 1. Definitely check it out. Let's see. Tracy says, when a client comes in for a reading, I only do email ones, and I repeat their name in my head, and almost instantly a deck will pop into my mind. So Tracy actually uses her intuition to choose the deck. And I will read and answer their question with it. As I feel the deck will have a special message for them, the same card will mean different things for different people. Yes, but isn't it also true that if we all used the same deck, say there was only one deck in the world, and of course I'm going to say the weight deck, of course, and oh look, there's the Hierophant. We were talking about the Hierophant at the beginning. Even if there were only one deck in the world, each card would speak differently to each situation, right? I mean, if you've done, like I do a lot of parties, and often I will find that people are getting the same cards at the party. Sometimes it's because of what they all have in common. But sometimes that card that appears for Mary is going to have a very different interpretation than when it appears for Beth, than when it appears for Julie. And I think that's going to be true whether you're using the same deck or different decks, no? Just saying. So let's see what else we got going on here. Okay, Joey has a So we have really closed, the time of reading, but I'm going to take pity on Joey because, hey, I'm a soft touch. And then we'll get back to our topic. Keep typing in about our topic. Here's Joey's question. I have a very big question weighing on me. I have a wife, daughter, and a new baby on the way. My heart has always been in law enforcement. It's a good decision for me. Oh, is it a good decision for me to re-enter law enforcement as a career for myself or my family? I've always felt it was what I was meant to do. Should Joey be in law enforcement? There's the question. If anyone wants to jump back into a reading real quick, because I can't say no. His name is Joey. the name of the card and your interpretation. I will certainly do a card and then get back to the topic. Four of Wands reversed. You know, the whole thing is you're looking at what's best for your family, not what's best for you. And I think that it's got to be one and the same. Whatever's best for you is best for your family. Yes, we know that, you know, there are some statistics around what it is to be the family of a law enforcement officer and how difficult that is. So you're going to have to look at how are you going to mitigate that? How can you do your career and not only provide for your family financially, but also be present for them as well, even though it's a difficult job? Okay. Now, Linda, man, I'm going to pay you now, too, because Linda brings up the next thing I want to talk about. It's their themes, like Wiccan. The symbology most pagans will be drawn to in the Robin Hood, the Green Witch. Right. Thematic tarot. It's great to use them for readings as well as spell work. Also, some are very spiritual, some are very mundane, but if you want bluntness, I go with the Deviant Moon. Everyone says this. Chase says, I'm such a weight whore. It's shameless. But I do love other decks. I love the South Sea Housewives Tarot. A lot of people like that. Okay, lots of good stuff here. Okay, this is a great story from Kiss a Kiss. Listen to this. I love this and I have an answer. When I asked my Rider-Waite Tarot which day I'll have tomorrow, what sort of day I'll have tomorrow, it was strength. And when I asked the Thoth Tarot, which by the way, I think would actually be pronounced the Tahote Tarot, but no one ever does. It pisses me off, but it's true. The same question, the card was 10 of Swords. That next day, my cat died. I still don't know why my Waite deck card of the day was strength. So I can tell you why. First of all, strength is the card of the animal lover. There's actually a cat on the card. Secondly, strength reminds us to temper our emotions. When you see strength, yes, there could be an issue having to do with an animal. And yes, you may have to temper your emotions to be in a very compassionate place with yourself, with others around you. You know, strength is the card that says, don't get angry, don't freak out, just deal with what you have to deal with. It's appropriate, equally appropriate to the 10 of Swords. When you put those two things together, it really does tell the whole picture. Now, does that mean that Waite will always present things in a kinder way than Crowley? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but that's what happened in that one moment. Okay, let's see what else we got going on. Oh, we wanted to talk about themes. So this is where I want to launch into my little informative, teachable moment about the different types of decks there are. Someone, was it Linda? No, it was Linda Tracy. I don't remember who, some kind person, was Linda, mentioned the theme decks. I believe the Egyptian pronunciation, this is for Serena, I believe the Egyptian pronunciation of Crowley's deck is Tahote. No one ever says it, though. They say Toth, Thoth, Toth. That's why I call it the Crowley deck and just let it be. Anyway. So when we talk about theme decks, there are some theme decks that I actually call archetypal assignment decks. Now, these are decks where the artist has looked at the different archetypes of the cards and said, within the theme that I've chosen, what are archetypes for each of the cards within that set, within that theme set? For instance, this is Lisa Hunt's Animals Divine Tarot, where each minor arcana card is an animal, and each major arcana card is a god or goddess associated with animals. So, for instance, Freya is the chariot. Heron is the Ten of Swords. Now, this is a beautiful way to learn and practice tarot, but as Serena said, you really have to study the book to understand why Lisa Hunt made Heron the Ten of Swords. The problem with these decks is that you may not agree with the archetype that the artist assigned. I would argue that this is a great teachable thing, though, because even if you don't agree, you can say why you don't agree. Do you see what I'm saying? And in understanding that, your understanding of the archetype becomes more solid. Now, before, this whole modern idea of different decks have different voices and different decks have different personalities, that's very, very modern. That's like within the past 5 years, as far as I can see, really. Because prior to that, what we did was comparative tarot, where we would look, just as Alison Spoke said she was doing, where she looked at all the different hierophants. That's what we used to do. We used to take the same card from a number of different decks, compare them, and use that to inform our larger view of what the card really is. So it's a little different, isn't it? Comparative tarot versus the idea of each tarot simply has its own voice. I think that, both things obviously can be true, but call me old-fashioned. I think that when I read, I am always calling on my relationship with each archetype. How it's pictured in a particular deck may inform the reading based on my intuition, based on what my eyes are drawn to, certainly. But my understanding of each card is always going to be part of it. So there's that. Now, we also recognize that there are other kinds of themes. For instance, feminist tarot. One of the most famous feminist tarots is Mother Peace, Round Tarot. And there are other tarots that really seem to fall into the feminist category of tarot. Chris Walder's Goddess Tarot, certainly. I think Gaian Tarot is very much a feminist tarot. And often those are also Wiccan and pagan decks. Not always, but sometimes it shows up that way. I wanted to call to your attention another interesting archetypal deck. This is Julie Kusha-Watt's Ancestral Path Tarot. Now, this is a fun one. In this deck, each of the 4 suits tells a story from a particular culture. The swords, it's the Japanese samurai. The cups, it's the story of King Arthur in Britain. So that's how she does the archetypes. So there's lots of ways to go here, but it's important to remember that even before we had feminist tarot, even before we had archetypal assignment tarot, even before we had all of these great theme decks, we had Waite, we had Crowley, and we had Marseille. And, Marseille does there are some people who are just Marseille readers, and that's what they do. I noticed that Marseille does inform some modern decks as well. This is the Vision Tarot, which is a fairly modern photographic deck, where we do see the Marseille concept, where the pip cards, rather than showing scenes or even moods, as Crowley does, the pips simply show the correct number of the icon of the suit, and that's what they do. So there's a lot of different kinds of decks. And I think we all find the decks that we're comfortable with. I think clearly some people form relationships with different decks and use different decks for different purposes. Some people, like me, sort of have their favorite decks but inform their interpretations based on everything that they've ever known about any of the cards. That's how I do it. And maybe to some extent we all do it that way. It's an interesting thing to consider. We recognize that tarot is a very, very personal thing. How we do it, we are each individuals in this. So I'd like you to do an exercise with me. Get your deck, shuffle your deck. Now, one of the things that people are doing a lot of is deck interviews. Interviewing a new deck. How am I going to work with this deck? I don't want to play with that. I want to have a conversation with the cards about your relationship with tarot as a whole. Okay? Not your relationship with a particular deck, but your relationship with tarot. Okay? So one card, tell me something about my relationship with tarot. I'm going to do for me. Obviously, when I say my, I mean you do it for you, not for me. I don't need 50 people telling me about my relationship with tarot. One card, your relationship with tarot. I got the Lovers reversed. So that's kind of fun. Because on one hand, like the Lovers in its upright position would really make sense because tarot is my business partner in many ways. Tarot is my life partner in many ways. Sorry, John. Some of you know my husband, John. He's awesome. He really is my life partner. But tarot has been with me as my spiritual guide, as my work tool, as my communication tool for a long time. But why did it come up reversed? I think because I really am struggling in my own career with finding the time and energy to take my practice to the next level. And that is about writing. I've got a lot of books coming out. I'm writing. They're coming out of me. I'm writing. But it's, I probably do 3, 4, 5, 6 readings every day. And that's fine. I'm happy to do it. I'm getting ready to go on tour in Connecticut and New York City where I will be doing even more, many, many, many fine readings. And that's a wonderful thing. And if you'd like to see me, I still have room to see you. But this tells me that I have to find the right balance so I can grow in my relationship with tarot. That's what it says to me. So people are chatting in, and that is fabulous. Chat. Okay, so now, second question. One more question. Go ahead, put your card back and shuffle again. This will be the last one. What can I do to take my relationship with tarot to the next level? And go ahead when you chat this one in, chat it in as second question. Okay? Linda Rogers got the devil. She's obsessed with it. So, Linda, are you doing this? I'm anxious. What's the answer? Oh, I don't like that answer. Let me find another answer. Are you doing that? That would be a very devil tarot thing. I used to do that all the time. I don't do that anymore. Usually. Okay. So, what can I do to take my relationship with tarot to the next level? 6 of Pentacles. Apparently, I need to keep doing what I'm doing. And isn't it interesting that both cards I got were 6s, the Lovers and now the 6 of Pentacles? I need to keep on writing about tarot, teaching tarot, giving readings, doing what I'm doing. Apparently, I'm just being impatient. I'm doing fine. So, go ahead and keep chatting in. And I want to remind you that we do have a Facebook group, the Global Tarot Circle Facebook group. If you're not a member there, please ask to join. We can continue this conversation there. We can share the cards we got. We can do more conversation about different decks and how that all works. And anything else. Feel free to chat about the readings you're doing, anything you got going on. And of course, you'll make sure not to miss the next time we meet for Global Tarot Circle. So we're in our last few moments, and I want to take this time to do a little bit more shameless self-promotion for myself and encourage you to go ahead and drop your links here too if you haven't already. So, shameless self-promotion. I will be in Connecticut May 31st through June 11th. I will be doing readings at True Bikram Yoga in Madison. You can reach out to me for an appointment. I'm also doing house calls and parties in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, so please reach out. I will be in New York City the evening, Upper East Side, the evening of the 11th, all day on the 12th, and in the morning of the 13th. So if you'd like to see me there, go ahead and reach out. And I'm doing a psychic gallery at True Bikram Yoga in Madison, Sunday, June 3rd. And as I said earlier, pendulum class, Sunday, June 10th, True Bikram in New Haven. I also just added a class. I'm co-teaching with my friend Jen. She is a Young Living oils distributor. And we're doing a class on oils and intuition. We're doing it at Conn College Tuesday evening. That's in New London, Connecticut. That is Tuesday evening, June 5th at 6:30. So if you want information about any of that, reach out to me. Remember, I'm always available for mentoring and readings by phone, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger, and right here in my Palm City office. Okay. I want to thank all of you for being here. I see Tasha made it and has dropped a link for her business in the UK. Glad you're here. Linda got the Hanged Man for next level. I need to look at it differently. I would say this for next level. Recognize that you probably have card understanding, cards memorized. Now look at what else can each card mean. Yes, look at it differently. What are other meanings for the cards? Absolutely. Okay, that's our time together. I thank you all so much. Again, we can continue this conversation in our Facebook group. If you're watching an archive, thank you so much for being here. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.